Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Dare to Begin Again. And if this is your first time joining us, I am so grateful that you are here. This is a safe place where a few women over 60, we have honest conversations about retirement and about moving into a new season of our lives and what reinvention means, what it means physically, emotionally, spiritually, intellectually, financially, etc. And so on this episode, we are continuing our conversation about retirement, or like some of us like to say, rewirement. And there are so many episodes on YouTube and on podcasts to talk about the financial part of retirement. So I wanted to do something different. So me and a group of my friends who are all in organizational settings, we are going through this retirement journey together, and we are meeting once a week, and we are sharing what we are going through, what we are feeling, and how we are moving to this next season of our lives. And because we are having honest conversations and we are talking about subjects that many people may not be open or willing to talk about because they're touchy, we wanted to share what we are hearing and feeling and naming in our group with hopes that our conversations will would somehow speak to your unique season, your unique experience, your unique chapter and path as you are transitioning. And even if you're not transitioning out of retirement, even if you're making some type of life transition, I'm sure the topics that we talk about in this retirement and our rewirement series, I'm sure it will support your personal, private, and intimate journey. So the question that I asked this week of the amazing, powerful women, I asked them, since we are all over 60 years old, why haven't we retired? I wanted us to be honest. Why haven't we retired? Why haven't we retired? Especially since we have saved and financially we could retire, which is a blessing and a privilege. I just want to own that. That is a blessing and privilege to financially feel that you are in a good space to retire, whatever that means, because everybody has a number that gives them some sense of security and safety, whatever that number is for you. So, why are we not leaving our organizations? What is really going on? And what I am learning is that as we are having these conversations, many of us are realizing that retirement, it doesn't create questions, it just reveals the questions that we feel uncomfortable talking about. It reveals some wounds that we have maybe swept under the rug, and now we have to face those questions on this journey to move into a new season so we don't get stuck, because you never want to move into a new chapter, a new season in your life when you are burdened with residue or unfinished business from a previous season. And so this question I asked them, since we can really retire now, why are we delaying it? Why are we delaying it? And the answers were all over the board. And I'm only going to share the answers where people told me I could share, because one of my values is confidentiality. And that's why I'm sharing some of the comments versus exposing them. But some of them want me to share. So I'm only sharing some of the answers where people wanted me to share with you in hopes that it helps you, and with hopes that you might have an aha moment that you can leave in the comments that will help them. So we can be really in this community together, helping each other. And so what I ask people about why they are delaying, I got a couple of answers to those questions that I wanted to share with you and to see how those answers resonate with you. One person said that she's not retiring yet because something in her keeps telling her to try one more time. Try one more time. The truth is, she entered corporate America in the early 80s, around the same time I did. And that was a time that there were not many opportunities for women, especially women in technical or medical fields. And so she really felt that she was limited, even though she was talented and educated, had the credentials and experience and expertise. She really felt that she did not totally actualize, that she did not realize her potential. And especially when she sees women now who appear to have open doors or opportunities that she didn't have, it makes her say that, what if I just try one more time? What if I just try one more time? And so I asked her, if you stayed in corporate America, one question was, how much longer would you stay? She didn't have an answer for that. Then the question I always pose to all of us is, if we stayed in corporate America, what do we gain? That was one question. And what do we have to give up to stay? And she said that what she would gain is other opportunity, additional opportunities. But I said, what would you have to give up? And that's where we really had some deep conversations about what she had to give up already. And she talked about having to give up her self-esteem, some of her dignity, some of her health, how she made sacrifices with her relationships to try to actualize in corporate settings. And so I realized that she was delaying retirement because she was grieving unrealized potential. Just think about that. She was grieving unrealized potential. And so she was not retiring because something in her heart said, if I try one more time, if I get one more promotion, if I do one more project, maybe, just maybe, I will be able to realize my full potential. Maybe I will be able to achieve and accomplish my goals. Maybe I can move up higher in the organizational chart. Maybe. And so we really spent some time on this issue of grieving unrealized potential. And all of us in the circle felt on some level we were grieving that we entered corporate America when there was a very different time for women. And especially for some of us who are not only women, but Black women, brown women, we realized that we never really felt we were able to get a good shot. And retirement, when you retiring from something and leaving something, when you really feel that you never got a full opportunity, it really does something emotionally to you. And so we are working through those things together. So the question I'll ask for with you, are there some areas in your life that you can't move on to the next chapter because something in you feels that you have not achieved or actualized or been able to take full advantage of an opportunity? Or maybe you feel like you haven't gotten an advantage or haven't gotten an opportunity, and maybe you are staying somewhere hoping that things will change, hoping that you'll get a good shot, hoping that people will see your value. So we realized the question, her answers were deeper than we thought. And so I will go into that in a different episode. The second top reason people said that they stayed in corporate America, which I thought was so interesting, was that she realized that she did not retire because she didn't want to become her parents' caregiver. Yes, and I thought that was honest. I thought that was courageous for her to admit. And she did not want to be her caregiver, not because she lacked compassion, but she wasn't really ready to face the emotional complexity of her mother's decline. She wasn't really ready to face her mother's relationship, nor she wasn't really ready to engage with her siblings who had assumed the role of caregiver for in her family, because she was the one who was successful, and so she was the one who gave money and paid for everything, but she was not the one that had relationships with her siblings, nor deep relationships with her mother, because she always felt like she was an outsider. Yeah. And because she always felt like she was an outsider, that she was never really part of her family, she really felt like she had nothing to offer but money. And and so working gave her excuse, because if she was working, nobody would ask her, hey, when is going to be your turn to help with mom? Hey, when are you going to come and help with dad? She would never have a turn, because her siblings accepted money to help take care of parents versus her time. And so it was complicated. You see, it's complicated. We always think that we are not retiring for a reason, but many times it's complicated. Just think about this person's situation. She didn't want to retire because working gave her not an excuse, I don't want to say that, gave her, allowed her to avoid participating in a caregiver role, a role that she didn't really want to be in anyway. That's one. But also, it allowed her to give in a way that she felt safe, because she never felt safe in that family dynamic. And so she wanted to give, and her contribution was money. And also, she didn't want to engage with her siblings because, again, everybody was close and she wasn't. So it was so layered. And so this is really important, because I think sometimes it's easy to grab the first reason why we think something is. And something that I do in my own life is, as well as with my clients, I always tell people, ask yourself 3 or 4 questions and then question your answers, right? And so we just kept probing and probing and probing and probing. And I asked her, when will you retire? And she said she doesn't know, but she'll know when she's ready. And I said, absolutely. But I just thought it was really courageous of her and really insightful for her to say, if I retire, I'm going to have to be in a role with my parents, a caregiver role that I'm uncomfortable with. I'm going to be in a role with my siblings that I'm uncomfortable with. I'm going to be even in a role with myself that I'm uncomfortable with. And so working is a diversion. But also, here's the hard part. Working provided an important resource for her whole family. So that's why it gets complicated, right? Because since she was working and really high 6 figures, multiple 6 figure salary, she was able to give. And the question is, like, when she stops working, that whole financial situation, dynamic between her family and her siblings and her parents, that's going to change too. So there's so many questions. And I think it's an opportunity for us to think about our own lives and ask ourselves, are we using not just a job, but maybe a marriage, maybe a project to divert our attention, to help us avoid a reality, to help us avoid having a conversation or interaction, or face an unpleasant or a complicated situation in our lives. And because I think we all find ways to avoid something that's painful. And so that was her feedback. The third one I'm going to share, and the last one I'm going to share on this episode, is that one person said that she is continuing to work even though she can't retire. because she felt that working was the only thing helping her stay married. I thought that was interesting. She felt that work had become a buffer so that her and her husband can coexist and could have some type of connection, even though she felt like they both were not in love with each other anymore. And so I thought that was pretty courageous that she would admit that. And we supported her because I think it took a lot of honesty and self-reflection. And she would say that if, because her husband is going to retire, and she says that she's concerned because she didn't know if there was enough left to keep them connected, and she did not want to be divorced in her late 60s or 70s. And so the retirement was a way that she stayed busy so that she did not have to determine if there was anything left to stay in relationship with her partner, if there was anything left to stay in companionship with her partner, or if too much time had passed and now they found themselves too far away and found themselves too far away from each other when they were older. And so she's scared. And so to her, retirement was an opportunity to, in some ways, retirement was giving her an opportunity to not only avoid the situation, a conversation, but it was allowing her to coexist in a marriage that felt comfortable, even though there was no companionship. It felt doable, it felt workable, even though there was no love, no intimacy, no togetherness, that they really lived two separate lives. And she was scared of what if. And so retirement allowed her not to have to ask and answer that question, what if? So those are three of the answers that came up. There were many, many more, and I will share more in the next episode. But just realize that retirement really makes us face some unfinished business, and it's not even about financial planning, because many retirement, episodes, books talk about identity, and it talks about financial preparation, and both of those are important. But what about the conversations about grief and avoidance and validation and love and fear and lack of connection and all those types of things that come up? And it makes sense that those things come up because anytime you're making a transition in your life, it's normal and natural to feel vulnerable. And as I get older, I'm over 60 now, there are some ways I feel vulnerable now that I never felt vulnerable before. And so I'm grateful, but I also feel more vulnerable being over 60 and knowing that my career, even though I wanted to come to an end, even though I'm grateful, it has me in this space of I'm still wondering, I'm still avoiding, I'm still reaching and reflecting. So here's some questions I want to ask you. What unfinished grief, relationship, identity, conversation may be encouraging you to delay your retirement, or maybe delay a significant decision in your life? And I hope that our honesty helps you look in the mirror and reminds you that you're not alone in this journey. And these are some hard questions, reflective questions, insightful questions to ask ourselves. And there are no right or wrong answers. They're just answers that feel real to us. And I look forward to sharing the rest of the list in the next episode. And again, thank you for joining. Please leave your questions down in the comments. Let me know what resonated with you. Let me know if something feels feels close to your heart. Because what I know is that sometimes wisdom is born when ordinary people tell the truth about extraordinary moments in their life. And that's what I hope for all of us. So let me leave this with a benediction. Like I leave on my main podcast, Deciding to Sow or Living Life Your Own Way. I love to leave benedictions and to remind us that we're never alone. And if this conversation really resonates, please re-listen, share it, subscribe to the channel, tell other people to listen. Please leave a comment, because whatever you want us to discuss in this retirement circle, we're more than happy to bring up your topic too, because we don't have to do this alone. Again, we can dare to begin again, and we can dare to begin again knowing that we are supported, even virtually, with other people going through the same season and the same journey. So I want to leave you with this benediction. It says, as you prepare for your own next season, may you have the courage to face the conversations you have postponed with compassion rather than condemnation. May you release the belief that every chapter of your life must end with perfect closure before another one can begin. And may you discover that peace is not always found in finishing something, but is found in embracing the life that is waiting for you now. And may your unfinished dreams become invitations instead of regrets. May your relationships become places of honesty. May your identity grow larger than your title. And may you remember that every ending carries within it the quiet promise of a new beginning. So until next time, let's dare to begin again, always knowing and always believing, always trusting that the best is still yet to come. Thanks so much for joining me, and blessings to you always.